had never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, hello, folks. How are you this very fine evening? Yeah, it's very hard to see me behind that, but we'll get to that in just a minute. How are you? Been a bit of a day today, I can tell you, a bit of a day. And I guess not so much a big day for me, but it has been a very big day for Ainslie Bullion. Now, just in a second, you'll see that there, the Ainslie Gold Coast shop officially opens for business on Monday. Now, it's located on the Gold Coast Highway. It's on the corner of the Gold Coast Highway and Marquerie Streets in Mermaid Waters, on the third level, if you like, of the complex there. I think you'll find Woolworths on the ground floor. There's undercover and free undercover parking for an hour or so. It's the second hour, I think, costs $5, pretty cheap. But there is a lot of very proud people, and so they should be, because what they've put together is quite spectacular. And what I'd like to be able to point you to, I won't play it because that would take away from what they're doing, but I'm going to post up in the chat right now, and something you can watch maybe a little later tonight. I think it's only 20 minutes long, but this is a walkthrough that I've posted up in the chat with Michael Engerman, the CEO of Ainslie Bullion, and Chris Tipper from Ainslie Insights, and they'll take you completely through the new Gold Coast office, which I got a little email today saying, hey, listen, the doors are open. You can pop in. We're not really open for business, but we are kind of open for business. So come in, we're open for business. And I think tomorrow they're definitely open for business. So if you're on the Gold Coast, it's sort of still getting stocked. It's let's call it the soft opening for I think today and tomorrow, and from Monday it is all guns blazing, so to speak, with the place fully stocked with everything you possibly need. I'm going to pop in tomorrow, probably, I don't know, somewhere 11 to 12, somewhere around that time. And I'm going to shoot a little video in there myself, but have a look at that Ainslie video that I've posted up there. And of course, tomorrow night, Ainslie are having their launch party, which we will be going to, and I will take you to it as well. But the show will start a little bit earlier, probably prior to 6 p.m. We probably get it going maybe 5:45 tomorrow night. And it will be a long show because after we've done what we'll do from Ainslie Bullion, and I'm going to try and work in, obviously they've got a bit going on. Their event starts at 6 p.m. and I don't want to, jump over the top of that, and it'll be hard for me to live stream that with decent audio. So I'll try and grab a word with Michael prior to the beginning of the event and do that live with you tomorrow night. But I did sit down this morning and have a chat with Mookie from TASA. Now, if you don't know what TASA is, it's another common law field, another common law stream, if you like. And they have some very intriguing, very interesting, very promising, as all common law proponents do, ways of approaching the problems that we are all facing. So in the interests of fairness, I thought it best to try and get more information on TASA. It's something that's been on my radar for the last 12 months or more. But I got to admit, I haven't delved deeply into it. There's been so much else that I've been involved with, which has sort of kept me a bit distracted. But I found my conversation with Mookie today very, very, very enlightening. And I commend it to you. So we're going to play that after we finish with what we're doing tomorrow night with Ainslie Bullion's Gold Coast store opening. And the Gold Coast store located in Mermaid Beach, beautiful part of the Gold Coast. They're on the third level of the complex on the corner of Marquerie Street and the Gold Coast Highway. I think it's 2400 Gold Coast Highway. And I think there's a Woolies on the ground, and that's where the underground parking and all that sort of comes in. So, and that's what you want. You want sort of something that's a bit secure, but something that's got a lot of people around too, believe it or not. And they will explain that in that video that I posted up. So please go and have a bit of a look at that. And for those folks who live in or around the Gold Coast and have been travelling up to Ainslie in Brisbane, that's not something you're going to need to have to do anymore, because James and his team here on the Gold Coast, who have been working in Brisbane now for the last few months, getting obviously trained and getting the feel for how the Ainslie business is done. And I've got to say, it's top shelf business. You'll be treated, whether you're buying 1 ounce or 1 ton of gold or silver or platinum, you'll be treated the same way, with utmost respect, utmost security, and utmost privacy. So can't recommend Ainslie Bullion to you highly enough, folks. So yeah. Now, just some words from the chat. Hello to everybody in the chat. I'm not going to go through and individually ID everybody, but thank you to the admins who are doing such brilliant work. I was talking to a guy today, Rolly, on Russell Island, and Aussie Sue, you've got to catch up with Rolly. He's a marvelous man. He has a bit of an idea he'd like to help us out with. I'm not sure that I've got to go and jump through some legal hoops before I can promote it or not, but his idea is, and he's done this very well, and I think I showed this to you maybe around bus launch time, which is coming up on 2 years ago, that he extracts silver from all sorts of different things, from scrap silver, from, you've got a set of silver spoons and you've got one left, that kind of thing. All the way down to computers, and he's been pulling gold and silver out of them and creating, a reasonable bit of wealth. And he's saying, well, maybe I can help out that way. If anybody wants to send scrap, he will go through the process of extracting it, and that's sort of like motherboards off computers and all that sort of stuff. So if that's something you're interested in doing, then reach out to me at carl@vofhq.com. You don't have to send the whole computer. Motherboards particularly hold a bit of gold. Anything with a chip in it, I think, has gold, and motherboards are full of silver as well. When I say full, you need a fair bit of it to get any kind of weight, and I would hesitate to begin to tell you the numbers, but you would need a ton to get a very little bit of gold. But I don't know, Rolly knows how to do it. If it's something you're keen on learning or would like to help do, then reach out and put you in touch with Rolly, and we'll go from there. There's all sorts of different things. So from scrap, silver and gold, obviously, to, like I say, computer boards, motherboards. You don't need to tear everything out. Copper's also a good one. Yep. And I don't know, could be just an interesting way of being able to help. It might be a bit easier if you spent $2 and joined us in our lottery at merch.vofhq.com. Hit the Sanctuary 750 link and spend $2. Win yourself $750. Fingers crossed. I'm not sure exactly how many tickets we've got left, and I haven't got the screen up at the moment. But last time I checked, there was about 440 odd sold. So that leaves us with whatever it leaves us for 750 tickets sold. We're still in draw 4, so there's no little gold piece attached with this. But as soon as this draw is finished, we will kick into the next one, and there will be that little bit of gold. 1 gram of pure Ainslie 49 gold in a beautiful pressed bar. Very special, and in a very nice secure package as well, a tamper evident package. So that one's up for grabs, and we've got a few more of those to give away. We'll have a little bit of silver that we might be able to help you out with too in the near future. And I've got to say thank you to Vince for that. I'm expecting a little bit of mail from him. So tomorrow night, I hope to be able to show you, and Vince will show you some close-ups of what we've been working on. But we really hope that we'll be able to help out there. Sandy, God love you, woman. Sandy says it's raining in the Hunter Valley again, and it's raining again. Is that Supertramp? At any rate, flooding expected. That'll be the 6th flood this year, she says. She and Barry have got webbed feet. They'll be growing feathers in places they shouldn't have hair shortly, I gotta say. Very strange. What's this message, Sandy? Anyone in the Hunter Valley or anyone passing through, get your details from me or the website and come for a visit. Would love to meet you. During the flood, bring your floaties or bring a tinny. I mean, you have a beautiful, beautiful little river there on your drive in up to your driveway. Beautiful little river there. And there's a couple of lovely river crossings to go to get to you. So, yes. But by all means, if you are anywhere in the Hunter Valley, and let's just say from, I don't know, Port Macquarie is about an hour, I want to say, a bit over an hour away. Newcastle was... I've got to say, I want to say I was only an hour. It took me an hour. I was driving something and pulling something pretty heavy. I wasn't driving very fast. So I can't remember exactly how long it took me, but it wasn't exceptionally long, maybe half an hour, 40 minutes from Newcastle or Maitland. I beg your pardon, not even Maitland. It was from the Terrace. So, so about 40 minutes from there. So think that area, north of Newcastle, south of Port Macquarie, and somewhere off the coast, like inland of the coast. It's a beautiful little place. And if you want to catch up with the donkeys, give Disco my love, in a blokey kind of way, of course. And of course, give the rest of them as much love as you can as well. There are a couple of other animals there that aren't donkeys, as you saw, a couple of little ponies. And it's a beautiful, tranquil, safe, wonderful place to be. About an hour from Newcastle. Thank you, Sandy. 3 hours from Port Macquarie. There you go. I just drive. I take no notice of time. So there you go. I'm only slightly confused, but there you go. But yeah, only about an hour from Newcastle. And a beautiful drive to there through some absolutely stunning properties in the Hunter. So well recommend doing it. So if you need details about how to find the place, you can go to the Donkey Sanctuary website, or you can check them out on Facebook. You can reach out through Facebook and Messenger to get a hold of Sandy as well, I think. And if all that fails, you can rely on me to give you a direction somewhere, somehow, how to get there. Look forward to that if you're heading past. It's a beautiful place. And they could always use a bit of a hand if you don't mind doing some fencing. Oh, speaking of which, Sandy, Dwayne wants to know if you want any fencing done. He needs to get himself working, and he won't bring the dogs. Does that help? Anyway, g'day, Harm. Nice to see you in the house too. Good to have you back. Okay, yeah, raining around Port Macquarie. So there you go. That's 3 hours away from where Sandy is, and it's persistently precipitating there too. So bit of fun all around. All right, let's get into some of the fun things that are happening in the world right now. And one of those extremely fun things is this: Australia's most climate vulnerable property locations for the year 2025. Now, folks, would you believe that the Climate Council have come together and they've found that, well, Australia faces significant challenges when it comes to climate and the emergencies that we face. So this page is climatecouncil.org.au. Feel free to pop there and have a bit of a look, but we'll take you through it here. I think you'll find it interesting. And the few people in the show tonight, including Sandy and co, will find this rather intriguing too, I think. So the climate impacts are endangering all Australians, it says, but some communities are more highly exposed and face far greater risks today. Climate Council analysis finds more than 2 million properties across Australia are already at moderate to high risk of worsening extreme weather driven by climate pollution. Climate pollution. That's the first time I've heard those two words put together. What about you? Climate change, global warming, but I don't recall climate pollution. Could that mean the shit they're spraying in our skies to dim the clouds? Our research identifies the top 10 electorates where properties are at high risk of catastrophic damage because of our failure to drive down climate pollution, which is supercharging more destructive extreme weather events. The climate pollution is the shit they're spraying into the skies, and here they are admitting What they're putting into the skies is supercharging more destructive extreme weather events. I couldn't agree more. They're telling you the truth. 100%. They just hope that most of you don't understand what it is that they're actually saying. Which federal elections? Well, electorates rather. Well, there's a whole heap of them. In Brisbane, 19,000 thereabouts, high-risk properties. That's 12.75% high-risk properties at risk of surface flood, riverine flood, and coastal inundation. So, okay, there are two rivers in and around Brisbane that do flood and create some issues, and certainly have done in the last 10, 12 years. The biggest flood that Brisbane had was man-made because the fools in charge of the dams didn't release the water when they could have. They were worried because Queensland had been through a drought and they didn't have much water in the dams, and then all of a sudden they filled up. They didn't want to let it all wash out down the river and out to sea in case it wasn't going to fill up again. And that was at the time where that climate crying bastard, I've forgotten his name, and the red-headed clown put him up as the climate spokesperson, told us that our dams would never be full again. There would never be floods. Our children wouldn't know what it was to run out in the rain. And then Brisbane washed away. But that was in part because the fools didn't open the floodgates early enough. And when they did, they had to open them wide, and the river needed to go somewhere. And unfortunately, it went through Suncorp Stadium and many other blocks all the way each side of the Brisbane River through the city and all the way out, and washed quite a lot of the city out into Moreton Bay. In Page, now, well, look, you can see Maranoa, Richmond in New South Wales, Bullwinkle, and the Hunter and the Hunter is the interesting one. We'll get to you in a minute, Sandy, because you feature here. You are high risk of bushfire, riverine flood, and extreme wind. Bushfire features, shall I say. Mayo in South Australia, and thank you to Kathy who sent me these links and this information on what's going on here. She's got a house in Mayo, 20,177 high-risk properties, 17.5% high-risk properties of them are high risk of bushfire, riverine flood, and surface flood. I love a sunburnt country. Do you remember the rest of that? A land of sweeping plains, isn't it? I should get it out before I start quoting it. But I'm pretty confident that poem tells the story of Australia. So anyway, here is Richmond. It stretches from Tweed Heads down to south of Ballina. The seat of Richmond's famous for coastal tourism. Brunswick Heads, Tweed, Murwillumbah, all those sorts of beautiful places. Many of the communities across the electorate are facing extreme weather events made worse by climate pollution. Climate pollution, I say again, is this engineered climate that they are giving us. They are polluting our skies, polluting our weather, and engineering it with these beams that we are seeing on our radar maps that are very, very active in the period where they stir up a newly sprayed area. Now, touch wood, I haven't seen our skies being striped recently. They may have been today. I've been working most of the day. I haven't much been outside. But they will be doing, if they're not doing it here, they're doing it somewhere, because it's what they do. They continually generate a soup in the sky that gets heated by these ionospheric heaters that are scattered across Australia and out to sea, generate heat. That system lifts up, bubbles up, gets hot, then cools down. Bubbles up, it's down. And every time it does that, it compresses. It gets bigger. It gets stronger. It gets wilder. That's what climate pollution is, and here they are admitting it. Their analysis shows that 31,500 or 28.9% of properties are already at high risk. What a surprise. With riverine flooding. Well, that's because most of that area has been flooded out continuously for the last few years, unbelievably so in some cases. I might also point out that they built a bypass around Byron Bay and Ballina. Now, it's a magnificent, absolutely magnificent bit of road. But my observations would indicate that that road now traps the water that would be coming out of the rivers that are flooding through Lismore and associated other areas and pouring their way towards the coast in what has hitherto been a natural path for it to follow. This is land that the farmers put their cows on, expecting that it will flood at certain times, and they'll get the cows off when that comes through. You don't go building shit on it because, well, it's pretty soft to begin with, but it floods. But oh no, they built a bloody great highway, 4-lane highway and all accoutrements all the way through it. And they didn't make it very high. The whole reason, in part, for building this highway was to stop breaks in that particular area on the highway in case of flooding. Now, what they've done is managed to build levees, and the holes that they've left for the water to escape simply aren't big enough. And the road is too low for the mass amount of water that's coming through and gets flooded again. Absolute cock up. But then they're blaming that on the river and the climate. Well, I would suggest to you that when you bank up a lot of water because you've put something in the middle of the way it normally flows, that water will find somewhere else to go. And that will mean the damage gets spread out in a different direction. Because if you block the natural direction for it to go, it is going to go somewhere. Basic. But anyway, that's the bullshit story. I'm sorry, that is the report that's being given out for Richmond in New South Wales. Nichols in Victoria, that's Yarrawonga to Echuca and down to below Seymour. Guess what? Before I turn it, I'm going to say bushfire will be one of the biggest risks. Simply because, well, there's a lot of wood around that area. Plus flooding. Riverine flooding, because the Murray River, after all, is pretty big. So too is the Goulburn River and, the myriad other rivers that are there. A couple of big lakes in that sort of area too. And, it's flooded, well, all my lifetime. I've remembered those areas flooding, just between you, me, and the Gatepost, being an ex-Victorian. But it shows that there are 26,000 or so houses there. Quarter of the property is already at high risk of riverine flood, surface water flooding, and extreme wind. Wow. Wind is the main climate risk. Well, it just so happens, I think they're putting a shitload of wind farms up in certain parts of that area too. In fact, I think they're just planting them all over Victoria. So I know that there are huge solar farms in that part of the world. You can drive down the Hume Highway, which sort of borders the area there between Shepparton and Seymour. You can drive down there, and basically in the grey area, you're going to find thousands of acres of solar panels. Absolutely filthy, disgusting, bloody things, which appear to be a bit counterproductive, wouldn't you think? Because they're dimming our skies. They're trying to get less sunlight through. We've seen the evidence in a show the other day, until last night, was it? It is there. There's a lot more evidence to behold. Anyway, this all just continues on. The extreme bullshit of climate pollution. Well, that's no bullshit. That's the truth. But they're telling you what's going to happen. So the Brisbane floods, just interestingly enough, aside from all the insurance bullshit that happened, because I think there was only one insurance company at the time that actually stood up to its flood insurance policy. The rest of them said, oh no, our definition of flood is water coming back up your sink and hurting your kitchen floor or your bathroom floor, not having a metre of water through your bathroom. So a lot of people turned over to that insurance company. I'm not going to mention them because the bastards don't pay me to, and they make enough frigging money. However, I do know that a lot of the flood areas in Brisbane that were affected in the big floods, and still get affected even in the littler floods, are west of Brisbane and out towards Ipswich and the Goodna and Darra areas, the Jindalee areas. Now, the flooding that goes on there has been going on there since there was a river there. Every time there was a big flood, a lot of water, it's called a flood plain. Now, councils in those areas, and I'm not going to name them because I could be wrong, but councils in those areas have been responsible for letting developers move in, subdivide, and sell off those floodplain areas. Now, admittedly, those floodplain areas that have been sold off were named as far back as the 100-year flood that we had, I think, back in 1974. And we've had a 100-year flood in, was it 2011 when Brisbane washed away the first time? So, yeah, the 100-year flood thing doesn't work out real well. But anyway, the highest flood levels back in 1974, I think, when Brisbane washed away in the 70s, was all flood prone, always going to get wet again should another big, a weather event happen, another big water event happen. But no, councils somehow managed to allow developers to say, yeah, well, we'll fix that. We'll build it up. We'll make it higher. We'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do the other. And I think over the years, while practices may have improved, back when this sort of practice first started, worrying about where the water went to when you built up something in the middle of where it used to go didn't really worry them too much. And that's why we've seen areas that didn't flood before get flooded now. Who gets to blame? Nobody's suing council over allowing the developers to come in and subdivide what is flood-prone land. And I'm sure it happens in so many other areas, not just around Ipswich and Goodna and Darra. I just happen to be familiar with it because I worked in radio out that way at what was QFM, Star FM, and is now River 949 for, well, a number of years or a number of times that add up to a few years. But anyway, this gives you a bit of an idea. If you'd like to go and have a look at this map yourself, see if you are on it. I'll just scroll down. The Maranoa in Queensland. Well, we know what's going on out there. That's a food bowl out in that part of the world, folks. They grow an awful lot of beef. I think they do an awful lot of cropping out there too. Cotton, amongst other things. Wheat, barley, sorghum, lucerne, huge food bowl. And, of course, the Lockyer Valley, which is basically a huge growing supermarket. I mean, they grow absolutely everything out there. And this is under threat. 18,500 properties already at high risk of riverine floods, bushfire and extreme wind. Extreme wind. Not cyclones, just extreme wind. Robertson, Bullwinkle, Dobell, the Hunter, and this is the one I'll show you because this will certainly, I think, it may not incorporate in Sandy's place, but it'd be very close to. But I'm sure you'll be right on the edge of it if it's not quite where the donkey sanctuary is. It shows 12, nearly 13% of properties already at high risk with bushfire, riverine flood, extreme wind. Folks, I've got to ask you, in my lifetime, we've always had bushfires, floods, and strong winds at times. Now, admittedly, I didn't grow up in far north Queensland, so my definition of a strong wind isn't cyclonic because I didn't grow up with cyclones. I grew up in sort of Western Victoria, and we got a strong wind. It wasn't anything cyclonic. So now the winds these days, I don't know. Are they getting stronger? Is the wheat being blown off the stalk while it's growing? I mean, it's possible, I suppose. The bananas do tend to take a pounding when the cyclones come through. So I guess anything hanging on a stalk or off a tree will take a pounding. However, we have been growing shit in this country for years, and the weather modification that they are now doing has changed things a great deal. So does that mean we have to start setting up diffusers around properties to stop the wind, hitting side on, full on side on? Do we have to start creating domes or something to protect our food? Or do we just have to start throwing out the bureaucratic bastards that are peddling shit like this and being paid untold billions of dollars for it and get it stopped? We have to get this stuff stopped. I'll copy this and paste it up in the chat for you now. And if you want a copy of it, then that's the link to go and grab it. I did see somebody there say put up more windmills. That's exactly what they're doing. I've seen, I want to say 450, but it might have been 45. I know that's a drastic difference. But I want to say 450 or 45 have just been approved for Twiggy Forest's little green venture from Fortescue Mining. Hasn't he gone green all of a sudden? He's buying up so much of Queensland and Western Australia and other parts and planting these god-awful windmills all over them. And unfortunately, there are so many farmers who have been placed in positions where they can't grow their choice, what their family has been growing for generations. The banks have placed them under huge amounts of pressure, or maybe they can grow their product, but they've had some bad seasons because the weather modification has made sure that crops fail or don't give maximum yield, or that there are hardships and fuel hardships, like price of fuel goes through the roof at cropping season, yada, 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 yada. All the things that go against our farmers, the providers of what we eat and what we drink. And we're going to talk more about one of those specific farmers or producers and industries very, very shortly. In fact, why don't we do it now? Capilano honey. Now, I don't know your thoughts or feelings on honey and where you go and buy your honey, but can I please ask you to do yourself and everybody in your family a huge favor and avoid buying honey from this company here in Australia. What used to be an Australian company is no longer an Australian company. It's a subsidiary of a huge Chinese honey manufacturing company or processing company. That company is surreptitiously and now openly buying not just apiary businesses, they are buying the industry in New Zealand and in Australia. And what happens with the premium honey that we as Australians, and I remember honey very dearly and very closely because I have an uncle, my Uncle Ray, who was an apiarist his entire life, his entire working life. He's 94 now. He's still working every day as much as he can. Is still quite active. But when I saw him last, he had to tell me that they had to sell off some of the land that they owned, which is, land that is out in the middle of nowhere. It's basically in the desert, right? Or along the edge of deserts. It's not good for anything except putting some bees out there and pollinating. And boy, the honey that you used to get from Uncle Ray and others, your local honey maker, beekeeper, was amazing. Now, all that changed many moons ago, and my uncle, Uncle Ray, was at one stage the president of Capilano Honey. Now, this, as my memory is a bit shaky on it all, we sort of lost track of each other for many years. I want to say this was in the late 80s or 90s that he was president of the company, but he was involved in setting up what I believe was a co-op of apiarists around the country so that they could get a decent price for their honey, produce a consistent product, and be able to service large markets like supermarkets and whatnot around the country. It started out with a great idea and was very, very, very successful. He's been out of it for many, many years, but now that company, Capilano, has been infiltrated for many years by China, and now it appears to be wholly owned by it. And what they do is they siphon off the best honey that comes out of Australia. They call it the premium gold. And they give it to the elites of China, those who are prepared to pay a phenomenal amount of money for it. And what do they do in return? They send their honey here. Their honey is quite often blended with things like rice oils or rice something, paste, shit, I don't know, something to thicken it up a bit maybe, I don't know. But it has been tested and proven here in Australia that the honey that comes from China sometimes goes through New Zealand and gets repackaged and then sent here to Australia, or gets repackaged here in Australia as an Australian product. And that's why we need to do a little bit of a deep dive on the subsidiary companies to Capilano, who will feed to smaller commercial honey manufacturers. It'll all be coming out of the same pot. But my advice to you is don't bother. If you are a honey eater like me, make sure you find your local honey provider. Now, there are plenty of apiarists around the countryside who are willing, able, and I think wanting your help. I know just walking around some of the areas here in the part of the world that I live in the Gold Coast hinterland, that there is just a wonderful array of honey makers that you can find at the local supermarket, or at the local service station, or at the local fish and chip shop, all being sold across the counter there. And of course, they are being sold at the doors. Oh, I've lost my bloody plan of what I'm talking about here. What I'm getting at is people are making honey near you. Now, I've done a little bit of investigating today, and there is a group or an organization called Be the Cure. That is something I would commend to you to go and have a look at. I'm going to post a link into the chat, and I'll show you the webpage here in just a minute. But I'll post this into the chat. Now, this is a map that you can put your address in, put your postcode in, put your city in, whatever you'd like. I'm just getting it so I can share this for you. And I'll put that up there. Hopefully the whole thing will catch up to me. There we go. So this is bethecure.com.au/community-honey-map. I'll post that, or I think I did post that up in the chat. Now, all you need to do is put in your postcode. So I've put in a radius, let's put in a radius of 500 kilometers, a maximum of 25, because that's as many as you can do. I'll put Brisbane as the thing, right? So I can draw out from there and see, and click on each one of these. I think it'll give me a different honey perspective. Cameras for Asia sounds a bit interesting, doesn't it? Now, if I was to do exactly the same thing and put up here in, oh God, it doesn't all grab at the same time. I think Melbourne is 3,000. So results within 500 kilometers of Melbourne. It searches, and well, that's hardly 500 kilometers from Melbourne, but if I zoom out, there might be more. But look, plenty of places you can get it. And you can order online from many of them. And what is different about this sort of honey? It's safe. It's come straight from their hives to you. It will be processed in most of these people's backyard sheds, which are very hygienic. They're set up to do it. A lot of them have caravans or vans that they use. Sometimes they process on site. Sometimes they bring it all home. My uncle used to bring most of it home. I remember he'd clean the combs, and then we bring the honeycomb back, or the racks back, and then he'd have this magnificent little wand thing he used to melt the wax off and get the honey out. And it was quite a process. And these days, a lot more of that is automated. They've got machines they just feed the racks into, and it all happens. But I can tell you that, unfortunately, most beekeepers' honey, instead of being sold at their door, farmer to you, they would love to sell more of it that way. It would be cheaper for you to buy. They would make more money out of it than by it going sent to a place like Capilano, where it will be blended with all the other honeys that come in from their providers around the country, and you get this blend being sent out. I used to only eat one kind of honey, yellow box, and I would only eat Uncle Ray's yellow box honey. I could taste the difference, and you can taste the difference in various different honeys, but for whatever reason, when I was a kid, I would only eat yellow box honey. I bought some of that Capilano honey the other day, just to say, I wonder if it still tastes like yellow box, and I had some of it today. I think I paid $8 for this thing of honey, and I've had enough of it to go on 2 bits of toast, and I won't be eating any more of it. Instead, I have some beautiful locally produced honey here, which, in fact, I've got 2 jars of it, and one of them is caramelized. And God, if you haven't had caramelized honey, that takes me back to my childhood. So please, folks, if you can go and help, go to bethecure.com.au and join up there. There is a lot you can do. And if you happen to have a little bit of land, or if you know of a beekeeper that it's providing honey locally to you and they're not in that list, let them know that they should be. They can be advertised in there. I think they pay $50 or something to join and have their business promoted. They've just got to provide the information for it. And let's stop this bloody awful crap getting into our bodies that's being produced, by China through Australian heritage-owned companies, and no longer, obviously, and blended with shit that's coming in from God knows where. And the same for New Zealand. Some of the best honey in the world comes from New Zealand as well. What's going to happen to our Manuka honey? They use that in Burns wards, for God's sake. Well, the little bit of it they're allowed to have, because you can be guaranteed the elites of China are getting their fair share out of it. Absolutely getting their fair share out of it. So anyway, yeah, go and get your honey locally, and help out a local beekeeper, and let them know I sent you, because I don't know that they know we support them. If they're anything like my uncle, they'll be ABC News watchers, which is difficult. So just tell them I say hi. Might be the best thing. What do you think? This is interesting. Now, this bloke got busted, I want to say it was in 2018 or 2019. His name is McCormack, and Benjamin McCormack. And he was busted originally on charges of distributing child abuse material and possessing child abuse material. I'm pretty sure it was 2018 or 2019. He lost his job then, and I want to say he may have done a little bit of time for it. Well, right now, he's back in jail again on exactly the same charges. He'll appear next on February the 5th, but this time round, he's facing 65 counts of using a carriage service to transmit child abuse material in Queensland. So I did a little bit of a search just to find out how many mainstream media personalities were wrapped up in child abuse material. Turns out, I was using an AI search engine, and it turns out you've got to be very specific, because I want to say these things are not designed to give you the answers that you want. And in part, it horrifies me when I hear from a lot of you that your kids won't believe anything unless it comes from ChatGPT or Google. And, well, ChatGPT is obviously superseding Google. And very shortly, I'm sure Gronk or Gert or whatever the hell the thing that X is called, and Meta, which is the Facebook version of AI. And I've had a recent experience with Meta. It's interesting. It's interesting. Geez, they hook you in with technology. But this bloke, still in jail, and will be there till his hearing on the 5th of September, which will be in Brisbane. Might be a few people who'd like to turn up at that. I know some extremely motivated people who like to turn up to pedophile and child abuse, kiddie fiddler type cases in the city. So good luck with that, Ben. This is interesting. They're calling it the MAGA dynasty. Trump going to Vance, going to Rubio, going to who? is that bloke down the back? Now, I can't make his name out, but if you can tell me who that bloke is down the back, I would be very, very interested. We're looking at, if this prediction is right, we're looking at a president that is, well, what are we going to? 2026. So 30, he gets 2 terms, let's say 34, 38, 42. We are looking at the president from 2043 onwards, 52, 53. So who is that bloke? Is the question I have. Email me, carl@vofhq.com, if you can help at all, because I'm a bit bamboozled about it. Tulsi Gabbard's been telling truths all over the place recently, releasing all sorts of classified information and setting the world on fire with referrals to the Department of Justice. Those referrals are going quite well, and I think the only picture worthy of replacing this one with at the moment is this one. And I've got to say, the Clintons are going to need a bigger bin. People are talking, and they are talking hard. So Hillary and Bill have already got the excuse factory working for them in the Democrat media and the mainstream media, the owned media. Watch this space. We'll keep an eye on it. I've just started to see some of the excuses offered up coming through, including blaming the Russians. But anyway, back to Tulsi. She's going to put some new declas out for us. Now, will it be to do with UFOs? Well, quite possibly, but more particularly, I'm led to believe it's to do with aliens and interactions with aliens on this realm. Remember, words mean things, and bear that in mind when this news comes out. But we're expecting that very, very shortly. Today or overnight tomorrow, certainly before the end of the week. And that could be Saturday morning, our time, bear in mind. And it's Lionsgate tomorrow, our time, Saturday morning, their time. So, or late tomorrow night, our time. So there could be an interesting distraction that's being put up. Remember, folks, for the most part, I think we are really watching a movie. Now, the Fed has been doing a lot of interesting things lately. With the Fed, well, I'm talking about the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve is the agency that controls the US dollar. Let's put it that way. It is not a legitimate agency. Latest news is federal marshals have raided the reserve looking for looted gold. Do you remember, not all that long ago, that there was a huge amount of gold being flown into the Fed, coming out of the City of London, coming out of Rome, coming out of, well, a number of countries. I think Australia even sent some. Now, that gold was going where? That was going to the Federal Reserve Office in New York City. Why? Well, there was a big hoo-ha going on at the time about how much gold was in Fort Knox and what sort of an audit could be done, should be done, will be done. Was done? I don't think so, Tim. So what we're seeing is something playing out there that, links back some months. And as we all know, it is a private banking cartel that stretches around the world. The Reserve Bank of Australia is part of this illegal, unlawful private banking cartel that does nothing but make our lives a friggin' misery. Now, the head of that organization is a man named Powell. And Donald Trump has been talking about getting rid of him for the last month or so. There have been rumors they don't get on very well. Financial policy, the US dollar is dying. There's all sorts of pressures. And, of course, this fella has been less than truthful when it comes to going in front of Congress and explaining what's going on. Now, these people in the Fed believe they are above everybody. And they are. They are the elites of the elite, the banking system of the Rothschilds, and a creation of the Rothschilds. And they are the tip of the financial spear, if you like, and this bloke Powell is the head of it. Now, recently, he was called before Congress to explain why the American people are funding a new Federal Reserve building or renovation of a building, and why that funding went from 1.9 billion US dollars to 2.5 billion US dollars. And was it because of certain extreme elements of luxury that were being included? Private elevator, private dining rooms, luxury, everything, marble, gold, this, silver, that. He said, no, it's just simply security, bullshit. Well, he has now been criminally referred by a sitting member of the House for perjury. Now, that means he's been referred to the DOJ. And why? Well, they're saying that twice he lied under oath. Twice he told complete bullshit to the senator that was asking, or the representative that was asking him questions about the people's money. Now, Trump was going to sack him, and it appears that all changed for whatever mysterious reasons. Could it be he wanted to sack him because he knew this was coming up? Well, that's not the way that the Trump administration and the DOJ work. They're not telegraphing who's being questioned or interviewed or anything like that. So Trump wouldn't have, if that can be believed, wouldn't have known that this was coming. So this guy Powell is now facing not 1 or 2 perjury charges. He's facing 65 charges based over a line of questioning around the extreme expense that the Fed is asking the American people to put up with. So, how long have we gone? Geez, we've gone 53 minutes. Doesn't time fly when you're having fun? Mark Latham, speaking of having fun, talk about a shit stirrer. I can't say that I've ever been a Mark Latham fan, especially. I do remember his days as leader of opposition and challenging for the prime ministerialship with John Howard, particularly a meeting of the two of them in a radio studio. I want to say it was at 3AW in Melbourne, with Howard coming out and Latham coming in, and Latham shaking Howard's hand, almost ripping his arm out of his socket. It was a very dominant, aggressive move to stand, and he stood over little Johnny, as he was referred to at the time. And I didn't think that was a very impressive thing for a prospective leader to be doing. And he was Labor, and a bit of a mouth, but it turned out he's probably one of the brighter Labor politicians that the country's ever known. And he's kept going. He's in New South Wales politics these days, but he put this out recently. What has the censorious Jewish lobby done to buy out such influence in Sky Jews? In case you don't know what that is, that's Sky News, and the Daily Tel Aviv. Mark Latham, folks, is telling it how it is, and doesn't give a shit. So, all power to him, I guess. I might reach out, see whether or not he'll come on the show. Politicians are not apt to come on the show. I've asked Malcolm Roberts to come on the show again, and I've never heard back. Whoever, I've asked, I've asked a few of them, and they've never bothered. In fact, most of them don't bother even replying, if I'm honest. At least Malcolm has always replied to my texts. May not always come on for an interview, but he's always replied to my texts. A little bit of news here, which might make your eyes pop. This guy used to be the spiritual advisor to Oprah Winfrey. Oh, how wonderful it is. Now, his name is Jose Teixeira da Farina, I think is how you say it. Well, I know it's Hayo. Anyway, he's Brazilian. These are historical accusations, but he's actually back in jail again. This picture dates back to 2013 when Oprah did a show with him. He had a retreat, if you like, in Brazil called John of God, or they called him John of God. And during that, he now faces 600 charges that date back many, many years. So he faced court and went to jail for things like rape, torture, child stealing, child selling of children, human trafficking, and sexual slavery. This is, bear in mind, Oprah had him as one of her spiritual advisors, very close, right up until the time he went into jail, which was a couple of years ago now. He won't be coming out anytime soon. You'll be pleased to know that he got 489 years and 4 months in jail for all his crimes, including possessing illegal firearms. So, Oprah, what a wonderful, wonderful lady she turned out to be. Everybody gets a car and goes to hell. Just saying. My place, I've got something coming up. Now, I only saw this just before I came on the air tonight, but I'll get a hold of Penny and we'll find out more about it. Coming up on the 31st of August at 12 p.m. Looks to be anywhere you really want to do this, where there is a My Place near you. Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, Canberra. Should read the whole thing, Carl. It'll go a lot easier. You must remember that the screen I'm reading that on is minuscule, and I've got to lean into it. So I'm not seeing it on a full big TV screen or anything flash like that. Anyway, I might see if I can get Penny on for a bit of a chat about that. That will be next week, though, because tomorrow night I'm going to be heading off to the Ainslie Do and the official opening, grand opening, birthday gala party, whatever you want to call it, for the opening of their Gold Coast store. Here's a bit of interesting news coming out of the Secret Service. There are a whole heap of DEI agents hired under the Obama administration. And some of them you got to wonder how they got the job. One of them wound up being the head of the CIA around about the time that Donald Trump caught one in the ear hole. But an Obama-appointed judge has ruled that it's illegal for the Secret Service to fire these people. So what he's done, Donald Trump and co, they've reassigned them to protection of the Clintons, Obama, and Biden, who then rejected them and demanded merit-based male agents protect them instead. Oh, the irony. Oh, the irony. Just magnificent. Oh, God. All right, folks. I think tonight I've probably had enough, and maybe you have too. Tomorrow night, like I say, it'll be an earlier show. Vince will push the buttons for me, probably start around 5:45. I'll try and get Michael before the start of their event, and he can explain. And I may even be able to do a live, which will be on the Voice of Freedom YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/@VOF. You'll find our main channel. I'll probably do something off that live tomorrow from their brand new office on the Gold Coast. My plan is to go in there around 11:30. So if you're going to be there, I might meet you in the waiting room. Look forward to seeing you then at Ainslie Bullion's new Gold Coast office, Mermaid Beach, 2400 Gold Coast Highway, or better still, just on the corner of Markiri Street and the Gold Coast Highway in the Woolies complex, underneath, parking for an hour. And you can be in, out, and done, hopefully avoiding any of those dickheads that we usually see on the road. Be safe, dodge them. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!